Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Administrator Milgram, good to see you again today, and thank you for coming to my office yesterday.
Thank you.
If you recall, in last year's budget hearing, you made a commitment to provide me and this committee certain information regarding the use of no-bid contracts under your tenure, specifically the total of no-bid or sole source contracts administered during your tenure and the total value, dollar value of these contracts. My staff emailed your Congressional Affairs Office 8 different times over the last year, following up on this commitment. May 24th, June 8th, June 23rd, July 5th, July 14th, et cetera, and despite your staff promising that this request would be fulfilled soon, we never received a response. Now, your staff wasn't the one who made the commitment, Administrator. You made this commitment, and in this very room.
Yes, sir.
You know, and I realize the Department of Justice Inspector General is currently investigating your contract dealings, but Congress is also an investigatory body. You know, when I was a young Navy officer, my first active duty station was Strike Fighter Squadron 161, and I had a commanding officer, Commander Al Gorthy, and he had 3 letters, 3 words printed in our hangar bay, 3 foot high, so every solitary member of the squadron could see it. And those 3 words stuck with me my entire life, and those words were performance, not excuses. Is all I have gotten for the last year has been excuses. I believe you're one of the few agencies within the Department of Justice to actually get a budget increase last year. But yet I still do not have the information I have requested. And so you can add to that list not just the number and dollar value of no bid contracts, but also list them individually by recipient so we can see who got them and with what dollar value was associated with each one. I mean, I guess I can add them up. You don't have to give me the total. But my question to you then is, when will you provide me with this information?
So,
By
Congressman,
what date?
let me start by apologizing for the delay on this. As I said to you yesterday, it is not acceptable, and you have my commitment that it will not happen again. We do a weekly meeting where we track a number of things at DEA. We've been tracking letters back to members of Congress. We have not been tracking QFers until recently. We are now tracking that. So you have my solemn commitment on that. I have worked with, and again, I want to take responsibility for this. The answers went to the Department of Justice just last week. And so we are working very actively with them to get them to you. I had hoped to get them to you by the end of the day yesterday. That did not happen. So I think it's imminent. I'd be happy to actually call your office. We can call your office every day and give you a status update. It's not in our hands right now, but I think it will be very, very soon.
And I would appreciate that. Thank you. I will accept your offer.
Thank you.
Please to let us know on a daily basis.
Yes, sir.
Actually, you know, no, a weekly basis would be just fine.
You got it.
Let us know when we have that information, when you have that information, because we would like to follow up on it. In the FY23 budget, there was a $30 million program increase for the information sharing center that your administration requested. Was that for what's called the Mission Operating System, or Mission OS, or was that for another purpose?
I'm not sure, Congressman. I'd have to look closer at it. I do know that there was some funding that came for our internal data overhaul, our technology overhaul. Mission OS would be a part of that. We continue to work on developing that. But I'm not sure about that specifically.
Okay, can you briefly describe to me then what you're doing with the Mission Operating System, or Mission OS?
Yes. So to come very high level and then a little more granular, when I came in, I found that we had a lot of technology that was over 20 years old. And as you know, and you'll see this when you look at our sole source contracts, which we've reduced by more than a third, but you'll see that a lot of those relate to technology. Our systems are so old that to have coders, nobody codes in the same languages that our systems were built in a long time ago. All of that needs to be upgraded. At the same time, we need to make changes so that, another example, when I came in, is we were only tracking one drug at a time. Obviously, right now, we live in a polydrug world, so we cannot be effective unless our system lets us capture multiple drugs. So we've already made a lot of those changes, but Mission OS is basically the broader system we're creating that will allow, one, us to collect all the information we need to collect digitally, and then two, our systems to be able to talk to each other. So think about the hiring conversation earlier of how we track across systems, how we basically are able to make sure that, and what our counter threat teams are able to do is any agent working in Des Moines, Iowa can connect with the information from any agent in Maine. So we're already able to do that, but that system is still developing. And again, my feeling is, yep.
So what's its current status?
We made a number of changes, but the sort of overall, I would use Mission OS to describe our overall, like, the sort of place we want to get to, which is, we're not there yet, but we have made a number of system changes, and we are already, I think, taking a lot of ground on it.
Okay, I think my time has expired, so I yield back, Mr. Chair. Thank you. Thank you, Chairman. Administrator Milgram. Okay, according to a letter dated December 19th, 2023 from the DEA's Office of Congressional Affairs, the DEA has the final authority to schedule, reschedule, or deschedule a drug under the Controlled Substances Act. Do you agree with that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you're the final. You're it.
Yes, there's a regulation, yes.
All right. In your statement, you mentioned that it has been publicly reported and confirmed by the DOJ that a notice of proposed rulemaking to reschedule marijuana from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3, and it is currently being considered by the Office of Management and Budget. Mr. Chair, I ask unanimous consent to enter into the record this particular article. It's U.S. DEA will reclassify marijuana, ease restrictions, according to the AP News from April 30th, 2024, sir. Thank you, sir. In this particular article, it says the proposal, which still must be reviewed by the White House Office of Management and Budget, and it says also today the Attorney General circulated the proposal to reclassify marijuana from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3. So, Administrator Milgram, is the decision to reschedule marijuana being initiated or encouraged predominantly by the White House Office of Management and Budget, the Attorney General's Office, or the DEA? Which is it?
Congressman, there will be a notice of proposed rulemaking that's released. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to get into this conversation right now.
Okay, so you have said multiple times that it would be inappropriate for you to talk about this, okay? Inappropriate or illegal? Violation of law or just inappropriate?
Inappropriate, according to our counsel, that I should not be engaged in a conversation about it. And just to sort of explain a little bit of that,
okay.
Since DEA is ultimately the decider of scheduling and rescheduling, and the DEA administrator is in that role, it would be inappropriate for me to make comments about this process or parts of that process.
Well, we're the United States Congress. You wouldn't have authority if we didn't give it to you, okay? I mean, we make the law, you execute the law, we give you the authority, we're asking the questions. So, I mean, it's like you're an extension of us when we create the law, so I'm asking you the question. Where is it coming from? Is it coming from the DEA? Is it coming from the Attorney General? Is it coming from the White House Office of OMB? Where is it coming from?
As you know, under the Administrative Procedures Act, which Congress has made into law,
Right.
there is a formal rulemaking process that goes on. That leads to the issuance of an NPRM, then the opportunity for public comment, and then the process plays out beyond that with an ultimate decision being made at DEA as to the scheduling or rescheduling of a substance. So again, as the agency that will be the ultimate decider, I'm not going to engage in conversations about issues that could be part of this conversation.
I mean, marijuana is a very, very dangerous drug. Okay, not as dangerous as some of the others we've talked about here, but it certainly is much more dangerous than what you see regularly that people partake of, like alcohol, et cetera. You have a significant increase in traffic accidents that we have seen that have sent people to the emergency rooms, like simply because they have been partaking of marijuana. So, have you had any outreach from the White House or the Vice President's office regarding the rescheduling of marijuana?
Congressman, again, I'm not going to be able to get into any of the process that takes place or has taken place on this.
Okay. Are you aware of any instance in which a rulemaking that schedules, reschedules, or deschedules a drug under the Controlled Substances Act is not signed by the administrator of the DEA?
again, stepping out of marijuana and talking about this generally, I am not.
Okay, all right, so.
I'll
That's where
look
it's signed
and
by the Attorney
confirm
General.
that's accurate, but at least in my experience, I'll confirm that with your office, but I'm not aware personally.
Okay, all right. All right, that's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Chair.